I've heard a lot of that stuff before too. I tend to think the same thing. You know, your boss and the person running the company are the two most important people. It's the founders and the person you're going to work for directly. If those two people, if you really feel like you're jiving with those two people, then at the very least, even if the company goes under, you're going to be in good shape because they're going to put you in good places. And so it's interesting that you said market first. What do you do to evaluate the market? You know, before you're there selling it, you can't test things out. What do you do to evaluate whether the market, there actually is one there and that people do want to buy it?
Yeah, well, obviously it depends on the timing that you're going in. I tend to, I shouldn't say that. My first two companies, there was no product market fit before I joined, so I was totally guessing. But after that, they were slightly ahead a little bit, so they had some product market fit already. So there was some evidence that people are buying it. So one is just depending on the stage, it's just, they may have evidence, but they may have already sold. But the other thing is you can look at what competitors are doing. You can also just like, we were talking about Slice, all right? I made the false assumption. Is anyone from Slice here?
Oh, they're all at a pizza conference right now in
There's
Vegas.
PizzaCon?
That's a real thing. They just told me today.
Seriously?
I was like, hey, Ben, are you coming Thursday? We are at a pizza conference in Vegas. Yes, it's real.
Okay, they're at PizzaCon. So I was like, all right, Slice. There's no market outside of Slice and outside of New York. That was my initial, like where else do you have like that kind of dense population of pizza shops, that it would make sense. But you schooled me a little bit on the pizza market, and I didn't know enough about it. But I would have done, if I was going to plan on joining Slice, I would do a whole bunch of research on what's the market, how many U.S. people eat pizza, how many pizza shops are there per capita, whatever the market analysis that I would need to do that would help me feel better about joining Slice. I'm trying to think of I actually have a good example. If I look at my last two companies, so at DigitalOcean, we sell cloud hosting to developers. Pretty huge market. Like there's millions and millions and millions of developers, and everybody is developing in the cloud. That's a pretty big market. And then my last company, Influitive, right, sold mostly to CMOs at kind of enterprise, mid-market to enterprise. Tech companies that have, kind of have a big advocacy or big fan base. Smaller market. Doesn't mean that, obviously I joined, but that's how I look at it, right? There's just less people to go sell to, and so by definition, then your growth is limited.
Really helpful. Thanks.